I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with this hair. Okay,
Okay,
pulling
so
it in the wrong
there.
direction.
And we are live. So in a few minutes, people will start coming on. I usually try to wait till people come on, give us the hand wave. Currently, it says 0 people online, but that's okay. We are here. And
Absolutely.
hey, it's super exciting. I love these lives. It helps me to meet new people, even if they're in the reselling community or outside the reselling community. It doesn't matter. And I'm so glad that you're here today. So as people start coming on, just say hello. I just one person came on. Wave if you're here. Let us know who's here. People will start joining. I have a separate private group, and if no one else in the community shows up, my group usually shows up. So I'm
Awesome.
so looking forward to this. I'm going to wait until some more people come on. Who's there? Um, Tennille, is that how you pronounce it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want you to, okay, there's a couple other people coming on. So what I want you to do, there we go. So we have Dresden's Avenue, who is Margaret. We have Michelle, and we have At Home with Cookie. Hello, Cookie. How are you? Is Cookie your actual name? So as more friends come on, I would like for you just to kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. So my name is Tennille, like Leslie mentioned, and I am from South Florida. I am a Pinterest strategist. Well, I want to say a Pinterest warrior by night. And during the day, when I'm not focusing on Pinterest, I'm teaching middle school. So I manage both. I started with Pinterest as a side hustle because guess what? Teachers don't make money. So I needed to make some extra money, and I found that I started looking online for something to supplement my
Mhm.
finances, and I started as a VA and niched down because I was doing all the things like teachers do. We do all the things. And I realized, okay, this is getting old very quickly. And Pinterest was one thing that just stuck, that I understood, and that I started doing and have done successfully for 3 years now.
Nice. Yeah, Pinterest is definitely we're going to get into and you're going to like explain what Pinterest is. But it
Yeah.
really, I've been talking about the community. It's really, especially if you're into like analytics and if you
Hmm.
want to see where people are coming from and who's looking at your products and everything. It's really a great place. It's a lot of fun. I do joke around and says, yes, I use it strategically for business. But yeah, I have an Idris Alba board and then I have a Keith Urban board and then I have a, all the fun stuff. I have Central Park because I love New York.
Hmm.
Everything Central Park, everything New York, the bridges, George Washington Bridge, and all that good stuff, and just
Yeah.
all the fun stuff. That's what makes it fun as well, where you're not just like so business focused that you're creating some fun boards that aren't just focus on business. Let me see who's here. Kalo, hello, hello. Oh, hey, Kat. Yeah, how are you? My husband always asks me, "How do you know all these people?" Okay, let me run your.
Because
Um,
those are your fans.
yes, they're my community. They're
Yeah.
my community. I tell people I'd rather them friend me than fan me
Yeah.
because I'm just a regular everyday person. So I'm going to start. Okay, I kind of got. There we go. So we're going to go. So there, I got that just for you.
Okay. Wonderful.
That's in your bio, and I told you that's how we want to start because this is like really casual, and we don't just have to talk about Pinterest. You know how it happens. I've actually been on your feed and seen how you've gone live on Instagram, and it's like one conversation leads to another,
Yeah.
and that's why I like to have just organic conversations so that we know we're amongst friends and we don't have to get all you know
Yes.
private
All
and
sniff and
everything.
distance, all professional. No, I'm glad that you did. I love talking, just getting to know people, and that's how I ran into you. I heard about you on a podcast, and then went over and friended and liked your content, followed you, became a fan, and now we're friends because
Nice.
that's how it works.
Yeah.
So, how do I help bloggers, coaches, and brands grow their business using Pinterest? So, what I've worked with the three, because I call it my top three. What I do is I drive traffic and awareness to their content. So as they're fulfilling, hold on, let me look because I hear some. Okay, sorry. As I drive traffic to their content, everything that they've created, because What I say is that they're working in their zone of genius. They're creating this content, so be it crafting, be it blogging, affiliate marketing, if they're selling certain products, if they are service-based entrepreneurs, they're busy working in their craft and they need some way to drive traffic to their content. So I use the power of Pinterest, which is a visual search engine, to drive all all the people that go there looking for solutions to problems or ideas or anything, because people go to Pinterest automatically to search.
Right.
So using keywords and using beautiful graphics, because that's what it is. It's a visual search engine.
Visual.
Yes, we take those two items and we marry them together and we bring those people over to their content, to their YouTube channel, to their podcast, to wherever it is that we want to direct them. So that's why Pinterest is so great in that aspect.
So if you have someone who says, Tennille, I have no idea what Pinterest is,
Mhm.
where would you tell them to start? If, say, for instance, they were a blogger and they have a blog that is starting to gain a little momentum, where would you tell them to start in Pinterest? How to get started with Pinterest?
Okay, so first things first, you need to establish a business account because you do need to pay attention to analytics. You want to
Yes.
see what's happening on the back end. What is driving the traffic? What is the content that's popular, that is generating the buzz, generating the likes and the saves? You want to make sure that the likes, the clicks, I have to switch from Instagram, the clicks and the saves. And there is a like button for videos. Um, so you want to see what's happening on the back end. So you need a business account. So you claim your website, and then you have access to analytics. Then you add rich pins. So what rich pins does is it adds extra snippet of information that's pulled from your website to Pinterest. So it gives you your logo, if you have a logo, or your picture, your profile picture, along with extra information based on what they're scraping from your website. So it's very important to have these two things. Then you want to curate an account that is welcoming that person that's looking for those solutions, looking for those ideas, looking, visualizing that better life that they want. So what you're doing is you're creating a platform that's going to attract them. So if you have, um, let's say for a blogger and they're a crafter, they have tools, they have ideas, they have materials, they have um, a variety of things. So you create that board to attract that person using not only keywords, but then let me backtrack. Keywords are very important because everything is searchable. So
Mhm.
those boards, the titles, the visuals, the descriptions, everything that's involved in Pinterest is searchable. So when people are going to just searching, they can search on Google and end up in Pinterest. So that's why it's so important and so vital to make sure that you created an account on Pinterest that has all of these items. You want to think of your consumer. You want to step into their shoes and think about what is it that they want? What are they looking for? What solutions are they in search for? What ideas, what kind of life do they want?
So we were talking a few minutes ago and you were like not sure if you could relate to the reselling community, and you totally can, because with everything you want to make sure you have keywords,
Mhm.
your SEO, all that's really important. And as resellers, we have to focus on that to get our item seen. We have to make sure that people can find us in that Google search. So the
Yes,
keywords are very important. Everyone should be aware of that. So you've already kind of got people going, okay, I'm a
yes,
little bit more interested. I'm a little bit
yes.
more interested.
Right. And sometimes you don't know where to start,
Right.
and you just start to look around. And if you take a look, just use the search bar in Pinterest. That is your best friend. Once you start to type in information, let's say craft, it's going to drop down and give you a ton of ideas of what people are searching for. So those are the words you use for keywords. That's where you get that's where you generate from that.
Yeah,
So
I
adding,
tell everyone that's how I started. I'm a handmade seller. I've been that for 30 years, but I
mhm,
wanted to start something new. So I said, what about tie dye? So in May, I went to Pinterest. I didn't go to YouTube. I do love YouTube, but I went straight to Pinterest and I
mhm,
typed in tie-dye, and then you can be more specific as to, because it'll give you all kinds of stuff, and then you're going like, I don't even know where to start. But if you're specific, as in tie-dye shirt DIY, then it brings up content that is for you, and that's
Yes.
how I started. And yeah, so I definitely think that's really important. So as a blogger on Pinterest, now you've got your boards and you've claimed your website, because I've done all this. I've been talking about this
Mhm.
for a while. I had an older one. Now I have my current one, a Reseller's Passion, which is my website. And all my boards, the majority of them are geared to my business. So for people who don't know what boards are, what specifically is a board, and how would you target use that? If I said that.
Okay, so a board is like a bulletin board, if we want to put it in a visual aspect. So the bulletin board, that board collects all of your ideas, your pins, your description of what is contained on that board. So let's say, just talking about the tie-dye shirts, and you gave me an idea, because that's how it happens. If you were to create a board of tie-dye shirts, then you can add information on how to create them, how to sell them, the different various ways you can create tie-dyes, because I know there's different patterns that you can create using different formats. I have no idea how to do them, but I know I've seen it on Pinterest, and they're very popular. So you start to, on that board, you collect all these pins. And you can collect these pins from Pinterest to generate interest, to generate some traffic to your Pinterest account. But then you want to think strategically and then start pinning your content onto those boards. You want to make sure that the focus of what you're pinning is the content that is that you have on your blog, on your YouTube channels. If you're talking about it on a podcast, there too. So you want to make sure that anything that's your content, that you're making a priority and you're pinning it to that board.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that Tennille was saying is that you create your board, like your tie-dye board, and you're filling it with all these great pins. And the cool thing is, once you drop those pins into your board and then someone goes and types in tie-dye, now they're going to be directed to you, and probably not the original person. So they're going to start pinning things from your board to their board. Yes. And then their eyes are already on your account. So they're going to start digging further. What is it that this person is doing? Why are they tie-dyeing? And that's going to take it a step further for someone to start investigating what you're doing. And that's if they're not looking for you specifically. They're going to just go by starting off with that tie-dye pin. So how would someone find a person specifically? I think I already kind of said it with the tie-dye, but.
Well, do you mean like typing in their name or typing in?
Probably, because they probably wouldn't be looking for the name specifically.
No.
Say, for instance, if they were looking for like accidental, right? How would somebody find someone accidental?
Okay, so what happens with that is, with the pin, let's say you have, this is why visuals are so important. So let's say that the visual is very eye-catching, and people will click on the pin and save it to their board. So automatically that rich pin takes your information and puts it on that board where that person has either curated collection, or maybe it's a to-do list, because sometimes we don't know how the people are saving it to their specific boards. It could be an idea that maybe they're having a tie-dye party and they want to save it for later. So once they start and they continue to search, your pins could be a variety of pins starts to generate in their eye, because that is what they're looking for. So Pinterest's algorithm is that strategic, that it starts to notice what that person is saving, what they're looking for. And the more they search for something, the more relevant pins show up. Now they can follow an entire board. So let's say they're having this party and they like the board that you've curated. They will follow that board. And if they really like everything you're doing, they'll follow you. So that's how you get found. If you're curating an account where people are seeing all the different things that you're pinning, and it's relevant and it's good content, they're going to follow you.
Yeah, I agree. I totally, because that's how I use it. It's like the example, I had a vision board party and I had a paint party. I wanted to find out for people who are in the posh mark community, a passion sip, and I wanted to figure out how to have a paint party for a small group. So I found that how to get my canvas, what kind of paint should I use, what kind of easels, and a good presentation because I wanted it in my house because it was wintertime. Same thing with the vision board party where I had 2 months later. So I got all that information and I posted it I have DIY boards since I'm not specifically a person who is using vision boards every day on my Pinterest, but I have a DIY board. So anything that I like goes to there, but specific DIY boards too. Like I just created one just for tie-dye so that all my tie-dye content goes to that one. Then I have a little bit different. I am a professional baker by trade. I did that for many years before I moved here. And so I was looking up desserts. I have my own dessert business. So I have chocolate in one, then I have desserts in another, and you have breads and pies. And then so I have all those boards. And just like Tennille said, someone can type in the search bar, and they may come across my pin inside of my board that wasn't even originally mine.
Yes.
I love that.
And let's say that you have a board that talks about the painting party that you have, and you put that board's title as hosting painting party or painting party or something like that, and you put the canvas and the supplies and the food ideas and everything, you put it in there. You've curated right now this whole bulletin board again of all these different ideas and all these different things. So, and then if you want to break it down even further, if you want to niche down your boards, you can go into the supplies, the tools that you would use. So you create a board for that. And let's say paint, you create a board for that. And canvas, because there's different types of canvas.
Yes.
Canvas board for that. So you start to, as it can get out of hand, because I have clients that have more than like 100 something boards that I manage. So it can, but it's awesome, but it's great because you are thinking of every avenue, every problem that they might encounter, or even supplementing or giving life to those ideas that they're visualizing. By all means, create those boards and then use those keywords to describe them, because everything is searchable on Pinterest.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I'm going to go to the comment section because I see a couple. See, there's Cynthia. She's one of my Spanish girls. Cynthia, she says hola. She says hello, amigas.
Oh, hola.
Let's see. Okay, okay. This is what's okay. So it says this is for Poshmark. So she says, I noticed when I post a listing for my Poshmark closet, it goes under the name of my Poshmark closet board. Is that correct? Is that where that should be going? The reason that it's going there is because the way that Poshmark is set up, they set up the board automatically. We have turn on notifications within our reselling community. So Poshmark is one of the unique reselling platforms that instantly creates a board for you once you designate a home. All the other platforms, you actually share your pin, like from eBay to Mercari. But that is where it should be going. But you can create another board. I have 3 boards in my Poshmark. One is actually for community. So if I see something within the community, like say for instance, you yourself, Deja Vu Vintage, has an item, I will pin your item to my community board. Then I have a separate board that I've basically curated myself, but then also the board that Poshmark curates for me. And that is curating based on every time you share, it will share your item into that board. I actually turned off my notifications because it becomes overwhelming. And that's also is true for Twitter. Twitter will shut you down for a little bit if you keep sending too much information. So if it's overwhelming you, you can cut that notification off. Dresden Avenue is Margaret. I share all my Poshmark listings to Pinterest automatically. Same conversation. Is there anything else I should be doing with that? Should I organize them on Pinterest?
Well, is there a way to, because Pinterest is favoring fresh pins. They want new content uploaded to the platform. Not necessarily that you need to have new items or new content or anything like that, but they're favoring that you have new pins, new ways of looking at products.
Right.
So if you have a product that's a standalone product and you take a picture of it by itself, but then you have a lifestyle way of taking that picture, definitely upload those different pins with a different look up onto Pinterest and then connect it with a link using the Poshmark, if that's possible, because like I said, I'm not sure too much about that.
Right. Well, that's exactly what I was saying. So the way to Poshmark it is when you turn on your notifications, and that's probably what's happening. I know Deja Vu Vintage. That's what she's explaining. So every time Poshmark is like an app that it's basically community based. So we share our items to get it seen. It's kind of so similar as Pinterest. It is that type of platform where we have to share it so that our community can see it. And then in addition to sharing it to our community, it will share wherever we have it designated. So if we have on the Twitter notification, it'll share on Twitter. Same thing for Pinterest. So it's constantly fresh items. So if I sat all day long and shared my whole Poshmark closet, I would be sharing 450 items to Pinterest every day. So it's keeping that fresh. And for people who are using Pinterest for Poshmark, and you have a business account, you should be checking your analytics. I can go today and see how many eyes were on that one item that was pinned to the board, and also who clicks the item. So we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's Sarah. So are you going into Pinterest and curating boards related to your business? So like for me, should I pin other Poshmark dashboards, thrifting, etc. to my boards? Sarah, in addition to being a reseller, she has this awesome dashboard that she created. She's a mathematician, so she created her own dashboard to calculate sales and everything for all of the platforms across the board, so that people can see where their money's going, how many sales they're making, and what items are selling the best. So everything for her is analytics, and this Pinterest would be the best. So she just wants to know, should she be creating more boards for everything that she's doing?
What I say is you need more pins than boards. So if you have boards, I don't want you to stress now that you need 10 boards per pin, but I want you to think about where can you place that pin. So that pin of that calculator that she has created, which is phenomenal because every business might need that. So you're going to create a pin and various looking pins, and you're going to keyword those pins to talk about the solutions that you offer, why that business needs that. And then you think about, well, can I add that to a reselling business? Can I add that to another type of business? And that's when you start thinking of what boards can I create where I can put that pin. That's my pin, and I want that pin to be shown. So who can use that pin? So then that's where I start to think, well, what board would fit that pin? And then if she's a math person, which is awesome, because then she'll see the analytics that of what is popular, what are people clicking on, what are people saving, and she can create more pins based on that content.
Right.
Because people are searching for that.
Okay, so spending time on Pinterest. I would say, just do it once or twice a week. And that's why you already probably, I told you how I spend my time on social media. Having a content calendar is really important. And Pinterest is a place that I visit twice a week, but I also am just to kind of look at my numbers, but I'm pinning every day because all of my businesses have a board, and then I'm pinning. So you don't have to, it may take you a couple of days to kind of get it set up, but you don't have to spend, a lifetime working on Pinterest. Do you agree, Tennille?
Oh, I agree. And what saves me, because like I said, I'm a teacher and I have a side business and I have multiple clients that I need to take care of. The one tool, well, I use Canva to create all my pins.
It's my jam. Yeah.
Canva is the jam, girl. And it saves all your brands, and it saves my clients' brands. It's perfect. The next tool that I use is Tailwind, because Tailwind automates it for me. It's keeping track of everything that I'm pinning to what specific boards. It has all the boards there. It has relevance. You can group boards together. Not that you have to remember, oh, this board goes with that. No, you can do all that pre-work. You set up your systems, and then you start to implement. And you just monitor. I don't say set it and forget it. I hate to say that. Because it's like if you're baking something. You're baking something, yes, you set it, you're gonna let it cook, you're gonna let it bake. But you're not gonna say, okay, I'll check on you like 2 months from now. No, you wanna make sure that in an hour you're checking on, is everything okay? We're good. Okay, so when it comes to Pinterest, what I do is I do weekly checks. It's not that I'm doing it every day, but a weekly check, just a spot
Right.
check, see what's going on. Is everything working well? So
So
that you have to do it every day.
what does your Pinterest account look like?
My Pinterest count, I am in the situation like what they say with the cobbler's son, that the cobbler's son has no shoes because I'm busy doing all the things and the focus is mainly on my clients because that's where it is. But my account, if you were to take a look at it, and I can see that when I add a pin, a fresh pin, because I haven't done anything in a minute, the impressions skyrocket, which is just that there's more eyes on the account. Not that people are clicking on it, but then I
Right.
notice the clicks and then I
Right.
notice the saves and I notice to see that Pinterest is super happy that I have added pins to Pinterest, that I am feeding
Yeah.
this this visual search engine. I am contributing. So that's what they want. They want their content creators to contribute new pins, not necessarily new content, but new pins with different
Yes.
descriptions, different visual aspects. Not every pin should look the same.
Right.
And you always want to look when you're on Pinterest, how can you stand out? What colors can you use to make your pin stand out in the sea of pins? Because you just have seconds to capture somebody's interest.
Right. And I think, especially from like the reselling, so the way my business looks is I have a board for just about everything.
Mhm.
It it may be 100, but that's the other stuff is my fun stuff that I like to do. Because that for me that means that I'm not staying bored. That I can, when I go, I can play around a little bit. Like I said, I have interests and I love country music and all kinds of things. But my business, I actually have a board for my Instagram. I have a board for my podcast. I have a board for my YouTube. I have a board for both my Etsy accounts. And so as I list something, I'm pinning it to my board. And
Mhm.
then I can go into my analytics and see how many people put eyes on it. And I've gotten so many sales just from that. When I released my ebook in February,
Mhm.
there were 5,200 and something clicks or something from that ebook. And I'm about to do volume 2, which is amazing. I sold 500 copies of that ebook. So it's so amazing that just it may look like this little simplistic site that we used to love back in the day for finding wedding dresses and all this, but now
Mhm.
you can use it to like strategically grow your business. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's more than just looking for recipes
yeah,
and dresses and crafts. It has, when I think back now to my account, I do have a board that's specific to all of my content that I create.
yeah,
And then mine is more, it's based more on business and service-based
yes.
providers. So I'm thinking like I have a board for even coaches because I've worked with coaches
Mhm,
using
mhm.
Pinterest and VAs and Instagram because I used to do social media for a duration there in
Mhm.
my time. So if you of it in that aspect, what you're doing is you can have the fun boards. I have the fun boards too. I just
Yes.
have them secret because I don't want people like knowing
Nice.
all the things that
Nice.
I'm doing.
Well, you know what?
Pinterest will tell
Pinterest,
on you.
Pinterest gets pinned several times a day from,
Yeah,
especially
but
that
Pinterest
shirtless
will
one.
tell on you. They will tell on you. Like if people could know, like, well, what are you going on? What's going on? Why are you learning how to
I
do all
know,
these
I
things?
know.
What are you doing? And so that's why I have those secret boards. But if you don't mind and you
Yeah,
don't care, then you build a community of people that have the same interests that
yeah,
you have,
yeah.
business or otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's really great. Okay, so here's Cynthia. Would you consider having just a few boards categorized, just pin in the boards for don't have many boards to look at? For people who don't have
Um,
many boards to look at, I guess.
I wouldn't worry so much about the many boards because remember, people are looking for a solution or an
Mhm.
idea, or they're visualizing their best life. They're not looking at how the boards are organized on
Mhm.
your account. If they happen to follow you, that's great. Which is, I I like for people to follow me because every time I pin something, then like I told you, that Pinterest tells on you, they could see what you're pinning and it'll show up in their feed. Now, in terms of organization and stuff like that, no. What you need to worry about and really focus on is your board descriptions and your board titles, because all of that is searchable. And that's what you want to be found for. So if someone is in search of, I don't know her business. I could give her an example.
And she's a seller. She's a
She's a
Poshmark.
reseller.
Mhm.
So let's say if she's a reseller and she's trying to develop an outfit now from work at home, because a lot that those searches were crazy and they're still up there. People are searching for work at home outfits and ideas because really they're just being seen from the waist up.
Right.
So, there's different ideas on how you can present and change your style, and you can purchase something from a reseller and you offer those solutions. So you want to think of what is my client or what is my person looking for.
See, that's a good example. That's why I'm glad you're here. We're talking about that now, and especially as resellers, because things are changing in the world, we have to change with it and what we sell. And a lot of people are looking for athleisure, but they're also looking for that comfy, stretchy top that looks like a business professional top, because now they're going to be sitting home, as a virtual teacher, sitting home sweaty, all hot and everything, and they just don't want to put on nice silk or whatever they normally wear day to day. So now you may have these items available in your closet or in your stores that they can purchase. So now is your opportunity to start pinning those to their designated boards. That's really good.
Yeah.
Let's see what other people. Hello, everyone. Diana. Hello. Hi, Daniela. It says, do you pin your listings just once, or do you pin it every time you share? Okay, so that's for Poshmark. That's the reason why I was saying that if for Poshmark it's a little bit different, because you're going to get overwhelmed. If you share something and you have that designated board for Poshmark, it's going to keep sharing. If you go into your Pinterest account, what do you call that? The background. If you look at your background, what do you call that? Tennille, it's going to show everything that you've pinned.
Oh, at the very top?
Yes, at the very top. It's going to show everything that you pinned, and you're going to see nothing but clothes sitting up there. And that's probably, if that's your intent, and if you're only pinning for Poshmark, then that's perfect. But if you want to develop and do some other things, maybe grow your Instagram or something like that, you probably don't want to overwhelm yourself by keep pinning. If you're a sharer on Poshmark, all you're doing is sharing the same thing. My suggestion is to turn off your notifications and only share the items that are brand new, not when you share your whole closet to get it looked at every day. So if you're sharing 5 new items, pin those 5 new items. Okay, because it's going to be if you go look at your Poshmark board now, for people who probably have not looked at it in a very long time, you're probably going to see duplicates of the same things. That is how the Poshmark board works. It's going to share everything to your pin. It's going to pin everything to your board that you've been sharing. So just turn off notifications and only turn it on when you want to share the brand new items. Okay, let's see.
And you know that you can change the board that is shown up above your profile if you want to change that.
Yeah.
You can test it out. You can always test it out to see what's happening and what's going on.
And Cynthia says, because each board has their own analytics, right?
The board, I know through Tailwind, you can get an idea of what board is being repinned the most. The analytics give you, like if you're on group boards, like a community board, you can tell what's happening within that group board based on the repins, how quickly or how active that group board is. Because if you're pinning to a community board and no one's pinning from it, they're just dumping their pins and going,
right, then
it's really pointless and useless for your time to even be part of that community board. I would find another one.
Yeah, so I know what a community board is, but explain to them what a community board and how it works.
So a group board is a collection of either creators or sellers get together and they pin to this specific board that's curated and created by them. And they can put their pins in there, and they can have an agreement that for every pin they add to this board, they have to repin or save 2 pins from that board onto their accounts or one of their boards. So it's great because it gets everything active and moving. So you know that if you put something in there, it's going to be reshared because that's the group agreement of that group. So it's a great place to build community. And if you have, let's say, 5 blogger business friends that are that can support one another with the content that you're creating, by all means, do it. Do it because it's exponential. Because you never know with the amount of people that you pin it here, you pin it there, and it can take off.
Yeah, I used to have, I don't do it as much now, just because I don't have the time for it. But when I was doing my crochet business, I belonged to a couple communities and they were great. Where, just like you said, we would have our designated day where everyone could pin and share. And it was twice a week, and that made it easier instead of you, and that way we could control who was pinning and everything. That was so much easier. And it was a lot of fun. And we were all kind of doing the same thing, and but then I belonged to another. We were all creators, but we were doing different things. The crochet one is a little hard because everybody's crocheting and everybody wants their designs
Yes.
be shared.
Yeah.
When you're in a group where you have a crochet designer and you have a tie dyer or you have someone making paper and doing wood products, it's a little bit easier to do that. So if you can start a group board, a community board, that is wonderful. You start a board and the people follow you and you invite them to join, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And that could be a board that you label. Let's say when you mentioned the tie-dye and the crochet, you can name a board on your account as DIY,
Yeah.
or fun ideas, or crafting with children, whatever the case is. Things that I want you to think outside of the box. What could somebody possibly type into the search box in search of? And if whatever you're doing and whatever you're working on fits that, definitely make sure that you have the board that lends itself to that. And that's how you can support other crafters or other people in your business that are not necessarily doing the same thing you're doing, but you can support them on Pinterest through that manner.
Yeah, that's good. So I have a question. How is it important? How important is it to follow people and to have followers?
Following people, if you want to stay in tune as to what they're doing, that's great. As a business owner, I don't think I have that I followed anybody in the longest time, but I do save hints. So what you want to think about is, do you want the followers or do you want the clicks
Exactly.
to your content or to your products? So that's where the analytics come in, because you can have a small amount of followers,
Right.
but then you could have crazy traffic.
Right.
But trust that the followers do come. They do come because they want to see if you have great pins and you have great content, they're going to want to follow you because they want to see, well, what is she pin now? What's the new product? What's the latest? So
So
they do want to stay in tune.
it's similar to any social media app that you're on, or
Yes.
any social media platform. It's like the same thing with Instagram. Like, people look at me now and I have 20,000, but I haven't always had 20,000. So I've been putting out the same content and it's just getting better. So it's really the content is more important than the people who are following you. And then the engagement is more important than the likes that you get. You can put out content, and as long as people are engaging, and that's a good way to compare with Pinterest to Instagram. It's like people are pinning and they're active on using your pins, and
Yes.
Actually follow through and actually clicking too, as opposed to them just liking something or loving you, giving it love on Pinterest.
And you have to be aware that now Pinterest is they're focusing more on keeping people on the platform. So you'll see that they've added stories. So they've added some components like Instagram. They want videos to keep people there, even though the video doesn't have a click to anywhere. But that's where you can start to build your following, because if they like your video, if they like your carousel pins, if they like everything that you're putting onto Pinterest, and they're going to want to see what is it that you have that's coming down the pipe, either a few weeks from now, a month from now, or they have a vested interest in whatever it is that you're producing. So the followers will come. As long as you're there on the platform contributing, they will come.
And for people who are out there getting overwhelmed, even Sarah was like, one more thing that I have to do. I really, for me personally,
Mhm.
Instagram and Pinterest, I could definitely just keep those two and get
Mhm.
rid of some other things because it's just so much to keep up with. Thankfully, I do have a content calendar and I just use a little bit in pieces everywhere else. But Instagram is my everyday, and then Pinterest, like I show up Pinterest because they show me the analytics and I can definitely see where my traffic is coming from. So
Mhm.
if you, just to give you an idea, if you're overwhelmed, Pinterest is a great place. You don't have to just, like listing, like eBay, you list it and you forget it. No, you do want to come back, as Tennille indicated. You don't want to leave it in the oven just baking forever. You want to come back and keep checking on it periodically. So just this is just to give you some ideas of some things that you could possibly, some areas that you probably never thought about to grow your business, regardless if it's reselling or if you're going to another area and you are diversifying your income and creating multi streams.
And just to add, I want them to take a deep breath. I
Mhm.
know it's a lot, especially if they don't understand the back end, which a lot of people don't. They get overwhelmed because it's something new. Then we start to talk about analytics. We talk about the variety of boards that need to be created. But what I want you to think about in terms of all the other social media platforms, even though Pinterest is is grouped with them, they're really not. I want you to think of it like a visual search engine, like a visual Google.
Mhm.
So there's a longer shelf life on Pinterest, whereas something snaps away on Twitter
Yeah.
and few hours on Facebook and
Mhm.
Instagram, it can be a few hours as well or less. Pinterest has a longer shelf life. So once you put something in there, it stays there. And
Mhm.
remember that people are coming to the platform in search of,
Yeah.
not that you have to bring the people to you.
Right.
As long as you're using the proper visual graphics
Mhm.
and you make it eye catching and appealing, they will come.
Yeah.
They will come. You just have to make sure to take a deep breath and don't feel overwhelmed because I know people are like, oh my God, how do I do all of these things? Just know it has a longer shelf life. And when you're pinning to Pinterest, I want you to think about 45 days to 60 days before your events.
Mhm.
So if you're pinning towards the holidays, now is when you should be getting your stuff together and putting it on Pinterest. Don't wait for a week to Christmas to pin your stuff because the likelihood of it being seen is that it won't. So I definitely say take that into consideration. The content calendar is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Definitely have that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Diana, you came in a little late because Tennille did touch on this. So should you have a personal account or a business account, basically,
Yes.
if you want to see the analytics?
Mhm. Definitely, if you are all business and your business is your bread and butter, it's bringing in the money, you need to analyze analytics. Yes, you need to have a business account. You can have both. You can have a personal and a business, and you can toggle between the two. Pinterest
Yeah.
allows that.
Yeah.
So you can have your personal with all of your great travel escapades, and I was going to name your but I was not. But
And you
Adrian,
can you can turn your personal into a business as well. It
yes,
doesn't have to start off as a business. So everything that you
no,
already have on your Pinterest, just say similar to Instagram. So if you have a personal account and it's building some traction and you want it to be more business oriented, geared to business, then just turn it into a business account. I know that personally because I've done that, and I do actually have two separate Pinterest, one for my personal journey with hair loss and one for my business that I'm working on now. Let me
yeah.
see. I see another
And anything you don't want anybody to see, just make the board secret. You can save all the things there.
Yeah. So, Kayla, that's why we're here. I wanted Tennille to come on and just share some information about Pinterest, just from a general viewpoint, because even though a lot of people here identify as being resellers, there are other people who are branching out to do other things. And this allows you to see the potential of your future business and even your reselling as it exists now.
Mhm. Yes.
I think that's
And just be patient with Pinterest. Pinterest is a slow burn.
yeah.
It's not like Instagram that something can go off and take off and all of a sudden, or Twitter. You have to give it some love and a little bit of dedication, and it'll take you a long way.
Yes, I love seeing those green numbers in my analytics because then when they turn red, I get sad. So,
Yeah.
so
But
the red is the negative and the green is the positive.
yeah,
And when I see
yeah,
that 64,000 people hit my account in a month, I'm like, oh, yes,
yeah.
So, it
Just
is.
remember ebbs and flows. It goes
Yes,
just
it's
like in
definitely,
everything in life. It
it,
goes up and
it
then you go
definitely
down, and you're like, well,
does.
what's going on?
Yes, it definitely does. In July, it was up there at 64. Now I'm resting at 38, but it was 34 last week, so it's coming back up. But the pins and the pins are still active. So that's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
not as much engagement, whatever, but those pins are active. And that also
Mhm.
means I haven't been doing a whole lot to Pinterest, but I'm
Mhm.
still, I'll do a little bit. I'll say, okay, wake up a little bit. Let me show you a little bit of love today.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to some other things. Let's see. I have a Facebook that is attached to Pinterest from way back, 5,000 friends. So I also get all those their pins too. Well, that is exactly
Mhm.
how mine works. I started my Pinterest years ago, and that's when I was selling handmade crochet, and it grew. People were just following me like crazy. So I decided to change it over 2 years ago to what I'm currently doing. So a lot of those people are still there, and they weren't moving because I'm still in, creating really great, actually better content because I'm learning how Pinterest works for my business. And
Yeah.
so you bring them along for the ride.
Yes, you do. And don't do the follow and follow business that they do
Yes,
on
yes,
Instagram. Please don't
yes,
do that on Pinterest,
yeah,
because Pinterest is not about
yeah, yeah, definitely. So how many times do you recommend pin for have more exposure in Pinterest?
that. Okay, so when it comes to pinning, it all depends, because I have some clients that they just pin 5 times a day. And then I have other clients that they pin up to 50 times a day.
Mm,
But it's the amount of content that they have. So
yes.
what I say is start off slow and monitor your analytics. So start with 5 to 10 and mostly your content. Go ahead and start pinning your content. Those of you that don't have a lot of content but are building it, then I want you to start thinking of curating until you have enough of your own pins to pin. And it's pretty much just gauging the analytics and making a decision. There is no false true method that it's going to work if you do 50 times a day. It all depends with the account.
So Velva wants to know, it looks like she needs to clean up her Pinterest. Should she delete outdated sold items? So again, those Poshmarks that we share, in the meantime, they may have sold. And so they still sit in our boards because we're not going to go and delete them. Should she go delete those boards that the item is no longer available?
Is there any way to archive it instead of, is
You can
there,
probably archive it. I mean, and on
yeah,
Poshmark you can. Once you release it into the Pinterest world, I don't. For me, that would be way too much.
that sounds like a lot of work,
It's a
especially
lot
when
of work.
you have
I
a
would just
large
leave
class.
it. But then also, I think what it shows is that you're making sales. So it's going to bring that person who's coming to your pin. Oh, it's sold. Let me go into your closet and see what else is available. That means that you're active, you're making money. So it's going to put eyes on you because I've been selling for 5.5 years. My Pinterest has been attached to my Poshmark since then. Can you imagine if I went back to over 3,000 sales to try to take those out? So Velva, no, that'll
Yeah,
bring traffic to your to
no.
your.
And even if you have pins, so those of you that create the pins and put it on Pinterest, don't ever delete pins. Don't ever delete pins. You don't have to delete them. Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Just make sure that, I mean, you don't even have to make sure that links are working, but you want to make sure that if you have a link that's tied to your blog and it goes to a specific website, that there's either an error or redirect to make sure that they're going to an appropriate place. And if you could do that with Poshmark too, if something's sold and you can redirect them somewhere else, by
Mhm.
all means, and keep them on your page where they can buy more of your products, that's what I would highly recommend.
Yeah, the cool thing with Poshmark is that if even if you clicked on a sold, it'll still take her there. It'll take the
Mhm.
person to Poshmark, looks like that storefront, and it'll just say sold, but then they'll be in their account and then they can investigate from there. So
Awesome.
again, it's bringing traffic to your store,
Mhm.
regardless if you're selling on Poshmark, if you're selling on eBay. For eBay and Macari and Etsy and all of the other platform friends, if you once you set up your accounts, and you put everything, it's in your browser and all that, you can just pin it. You can just pin. Like I pin every time I list something new. Like I just, before I got on with Tennille, I was saving items into my Etsy store. When I list those, I'll just pin them into my Etsy vintage store. And so that is like the cool thing. You can just like pin them right in there. I love it. You're doing it manually, but you're getting those pins on there so that eyes can get into your closet. So someone will click on that vintage sweater that I'm just listing, and it'll take them to my Etsy store. So for the people who are used to Poshmark automatically doing it, you may have to get a little bit more strategic and do a little bit of work if you're selling on eBay or another platform, or you can create a whole nother board if you want and just put everything together and just call it like your reselling board. So you don't have to have one for all of yours. I happen to have one for all of mine. I like to see everything that way, so it's not all kind of cluttered together. But as to not overwhelm yourself, you can call it, your reselling board or something. So that you pin your eBay, your Macari, and all of that. So anyone, or you can call it the name of your business, so like I'm Reseller's Passion. So the board would be a Reseller's Passion stores or something, selling apps or whatever. So when they click it, there you go.
And just to give another idea, since we have the holidays that are approaching, and people start to search for things like gifts for so and so. So gifts for mom, gifts for daughters, gifts for girls.
Yeah.
And if you have that kind of product, you might want to create a board that's just dedicated to stuff that you can sell that's related to that person. And if you go onto Pinterest and you type that into the search bar, you can see what people are searching for.
Yeah, that was definitely when I was doing my crochet. I had my handmade board set up like that, hats for little girls, and I have all these cute little mittens and everything in there, and scarves for men. So that was really great, and it's actually still kind of broken down like that. So if they click on it, they know that they're going to find something for their significant other or their children, just like Tennille said, something their mom has been wanting. And this is the other thing that's great about Pinterest. It's just imagine Google, you go into Google and you're searching for something purposely, right? Like how we teach each other here on reselling, you're looking for something. So imagine someone comes to Pinterest and their mom has not been able to find this sweater or whatever that she's been looking for 20 years. And they think, wow, mom is going to be 70. Let me see if I can find this item. And they type it in and they land in your store. That would be so incredible. They land on your pin and they click that pin and it takes them to wherever your designated store is. That's amazing right there. That is amazing how that works.
It is. Let's
see here. We got so much stuff going on. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Tennille? She's such a wealth of information. I'm super excited. So there you go. So Michelle says, I need to make a board for my Etsy store. Great idea. Michelle has some really great stuff. Michelle, you'll have the potential to sell. Michelle sells tie-dye and she makes these great handmade stickers. This is an opportunity for you to create a nice board and pin your designs. This is the perfect time, as Tennille said, start preparing for the holidays, and people are going to be searching, especially if you make custom items as well, because I think you make custom things. That's
awesome when it comes to preparing for the holidays, but then also you have a rush in January. So if you're in the wellness, or if you have anything that's related to the new year, new you, and especially that we want to get rid of this year because it's been so trying for so many, that they're looking for those things. We started searching for Christmas items in July. That's how it's showing you what is happening in terms of search on Pinterest. So don't be afraid to pin things for not only the holidays, but even think further in January. What could you pin possibly for that time as well?
Yeah, so she knows the reseller. Well, that's like any business, but that
Yes,
perfectly speaks to you, friends, that we talk about that all the time. Right now, we're in what we call Q4, which is our busiest season of the year because it's
yes,
usually the holiday season, and we start prepping in and purposely buying those fall and winter items, not specifically geared toward Christmas, but for the person that they can shop for the Christmas holidays, those sweaters and those coats and socks and different things, sweatshirts and all those, cold weather items and those really unique gifts. And I agree, January, some people even say Q4 is not good for them, but as soon as the new year hits, that's when people are shopping. And I tell you why, because on Christmas, they got all the gift cards. That's
yes,
why they shop. I've been talking about that for years.
yes.
I don't buy my children gifts because they're all older now. And if I were to purchase anything for them, it would be gift cards. I ask them specifically, where they want to shop. And if they just say like a Visa card, you know how many people are going to come to your store with their new money that they didn't have to make? So
Yeah.
they're going to spend like crazy, especially like when it was the stimulus check, that first round of stimulus checks, man, sales were coming in. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to be saving that money?
Well, we don't want to tell them what to do with their money.
No, we don't. We don't. One couple more questions. Cynthia, so it says, what would you consider good analytics for knowing that you are in the right pad for growing in place? Cynthia, in Pinterest.
So what's good analytics is you're seeing that you pin something and you're getting traction on it. You're getting links to your site and you're getting saves. Hey, typos happen to me too, so it's all good. So you want to make sure that you're analyzing that. If you're pinning something and you get no kind of traction on it, then what I would do, and this is how I think, let me revise the creative, which is revise the graphic. Let me try something new, a different colored overlay, a different title, and I'll put it again and see if I gain some traction. If I get clicks and saves, and I know people were not responding to that graphic, it was not catching their eye, it was not stopping the scroll. Because remember that people go on there, sometimes they go there looking for something specifically, or we have this aimless scroll that, what captures my eye, and then boom, something captures either the title, the graphic, the picture. What I do recommend is don't use graphics that have like people in a bad state. Like if it's a problem and they're looking downtrodden or anything like that, that's not what they're looking for. People are looking for the opposite of that. So what is it that they're looking for? Use products or pictures that represent that, not the opposite. Try to think positivity instead of negativity.
Definitely. Cynthia is my good friend. Cynthia, I don't remember your podcast, but she hosts a Spanish podcast that I was telling you
Yeah.
about, ladies. Let me see.
And Pinterest works for podcasts as well. Anywhere you want to send traffic.
Yes.
So anywhere you want to send traffic.
I was going to say my analytics show that Twitter and Pinterest bring more traffic to my podcast than any other social media networks. It's amazing. As soon as I release a podcast, I pin it right to Pinterest. It's amazing. I love it. I explain it's like that, virtual cork board, and use your stick pins to pin. That instead of piece of paper, you're using virtual pins to do it. I love it. To some people, it may not make sense, but if you, after talking to Tennille and really thinking about it, and then coming back in a couple days and watching this over for people who missed it, it'll really start sinking in. Like, it's something that's fun and easy that you can use to strategically grow your business to get that exponential growth that Tennille was talking about. It really is amazing. It really has been a game changer for me. So anytime I learn something, that's when I share it to the community. And as the growth comes in, I'm like, wow, if I can do this, how about if I share it to the group? And we're all going to look at things differently, but we're all going to like grow together. Which is you are very welcome, Cynthia. You are welcome. That was Tennille's suggestion. So there you go.
Happy to help. And what I want to remind your audience is, I was reading that. I get distracted.
Oh,
So
yes.
what I wanted to remind the audience is put yourself in your consumer's shoes. So the person that you're trying to attract. every time that you do something on Pinterest, I want you to think of that person. So that ideal client, that ideal avatar that they talk about, just want you to pick somebody and what would they search for and how would they search for it? And what can you provide that can satisfy them? So I just want you guys to keep that always in mind.
That is great. And that's like a good note to end on. So everyone follow Tennille at Miss Virtual Maven, right?
Yes.
And she's like, look at her smile.
Thank you.
I was super excited about today. I'm so glad that Tennille could join me. She probably was like 8 p.m. at night. What? Uh, but I am glad.
No, it's fine.
Oh
It's
my
fine.
goodness.
I do this at this time.
I'm so glad.
It's not, I'm happy that you invited me on and that we were able to chat. It was great to speak to you in person, this in this
Yes,
format at least.
yes. I would love to come on yours anytime. It's been a while. I can tell you're probably busy because I can tell you haven't gone live in a while.
Yes,
I always
yes.
scroll through people because I want to see what they're doing, what they're about. It's really interesting to me, and that's how I grow by like that's how I educate myself by going through Instagram and like
Yes.
going meeting people I wouldn't otherwise. Because when you contacted me, I was like, oh my gosh, awesome. I love meeting new people and bringing new content and new conversation to my community. So, friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Many of you that are joining me know what I'm going to say. Diana saying thank you to Neil and Leslie. This was awesome. I agree, Diana. It was awesome. To Neil's awesome. But now you have something new that you can try. Take your time. Don't overwhelm yourself. But
No.
use this as a tool to step out of your comfort zone. You can't step out of your comfort zone until you step, right? And as I say every week, do the thing that you think that you cannot do. Not me, Eleanor Roosevelt, but that's my life quote that I want to share with you guys. So thank you so much for joining Tennille and I tonight, friends.